Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, Project Veritas does it again. Project Veritas just gave us a direct look, a video leak of the internal meeting that just went down with Elon Musk. Except get this, folks, they didn't just get us video footage of that meeting and some of the highlights of what Elon Musk was asked and what he said. They also got their hands on Slack messaging, showing employees in real time discussing what Elon Musk was saying. And you are not going to guess what the chat was like. Of course, you know exactly what it was like. It gives us another glimpse into the far left lunacy that has infected the tech world. Let me show you guys everything that we have from the question and answer period involving Elon Musk and the live chat reaction. We're going to talk about it, and of course I'll give you guys my 2 cents. But before we get into any of it, make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share this video as much as possible, and with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so take a look at this. Breaking: Project Veritas leaks hashtag Twitter all hands with Elon Musk. Take a look at what extreme billionaire villain Elon Musk had to say.
I think it's essential to have a free speech and to be able to communicate. Just communicate freely if there are multiple opinions, but and just make sure that we're not sort of driving a narrative. In order for people to have trust in Twitter, I think it's extremely important that there be transparency. I think Twitter, in terms of like serious issues, can be a lot better in informing people about serious issues. How many times have the media gotten it right? I would say almost never. Not never, but almost never.
Can we talk briefly about your political views?
Well, my political views, I think, are moderate. I'm in favor of moderate politics, but allowing people who have relatively extreme views to express those views within the bounds of the law. It's free speech within the context of the law. So it's not. I'm definitely not suggesting that we, just flout the law, because we'll get shut down in that case. And I think there's also there's freedom of speech and freedom of reach. So I think people should be allowed to say, pretty outrageous things that are within the bounds of the law, but then they don't, it doesn't get amplified. It doesn't get, a ton of reach. I think an important goal for Twitter would be to try to include as much of the country, as much of the world as possible. So the things that I've said about Twitter, I think need to happen in order for it to be, to really go to the next level. I mean, I think the potential is there for Twitter to have be accessible to an order of magnitude more people. Let's say the far left 10% and far right 10% were equally upset on Twitter, then that will probably be a good outcome. The standard is much more than not offending people. The standard should be that they're very entertained and informed.
Now, was any of that red flag concerning, setting off alarm bells in the back of your mind? I mean, the only thing that I thought was a little bit weird was freedom of speech and freedom of reach. It seemed almost as if he was advocating shadow banning people with extremist viewpoints. Now, to a certain extent, this might make sense. It really depends on where they draw the line. But that's the only thing that I personally disagree with. I think people with extremist viewpoints, once again, if they're operating within the law, but their ideas are a little bit out there, let them speak. As long as they're not calling for violence, as long as they're not doing something that is directly translating to real world harm, people should be able to discuss ideas freely. In terms of freedom of reach, bad ideas and extremist viewpoints are already deeply unpopular. And if you just let these people speak and operate in public, first of all, people will be able to see what they're saying and what they're doing, which is better for everyone. And second of all, most people don't gravitate towards that kind of lunacy. And so this idea of limited reach, well, they already have limited reach. It's like all this fear-mongering with the leftist media about the KKK and white nationalist extremists and trying to connect it towards Trump Republicans. Well, those extremist white nationalists and KKK members already aren't a threat because there's like 100 of them. Who cares? They're not a relevant political group in America. They live in the damn forest and mostly keep to themselves. I mean, nothing that Elon Musk said here should be offensive to anyone. It's basic. There's nothing extreme and evil. But lefties continue on with this assertion that Elon Musk is somehow an existential threat to the world because he wants to restore basic freedom of speech to Twitter. I mean, it's absurd. And here's where we go into the live reaction from Twitter employees when Elon Musk was answering these very simple questions. And take a look. Here's one Twitter user who writes, "Queer people cannot trust this man. We've seen this kind of homophobia and transphobia before. There's nothing salvageable about what he says." Another Twitter employee responds, "Holding space for you and our other queer tweeps. Can somebody please explain to me how Elon Musk is a homophobe and transphobic? I mean, where do you get this stuff from? What has this man ever said that makes you think that he's a massive threat to your community? I seriously don't get it." I mean, I guess the implication is that if you're pro-free speech, you're somehow homophobic and transphobic. I mean, utterly ridiculous. But where the real unhinged meltdown begins was when Elon Musk was asked a very, in my opinion, inappropriate question. When he was asked about his political leanings. First of all, I'm not sure what that has to do with anything, but nonetheless, during the Twitter's all hands on deck call, he was asked where he stands politically, and he answered moderate, in the middle. His answer again was completely benign, but Twitter employees had a serious problem with this because of a prior tweet that Elon Musk issued. Elon Musk tweets that he leans toward Ron DeSantis for president in 2024. I know, some real spooky stuff. One person wrote in the Slack chat that he can vote for whoever he wishes. That's no one in this chat's business. Here are the responses from Twitter employees. "It does when the person he votes for directly hurts me," writes the first individual who responds. Now, I highly doubt that this person even lives in the state of Florida, but apparently Ron DeSantis is directly hurting this Twitter employee. Through what? Not exactly sure, but again, as a leftist or leftist activist, you can just say this stuff and it's accepted as baseline reality without any actual facts or evidence. He has the right to vote for whoever he wishes to, writes the next individual. That's his right. Just like it's your right to vote for whoever you wish. It's called democracy. The next person responds, "When his biases impact people's lives, it matters. No one is saying that he can't vote one way or another, but there's no separation of personal interest to what makes sense for the business. Your comment is privileged." The first user responds, "I agree that he can vote for whoever he wants. I get to question whether I trust his relationship based off of his track record. If his political views are, quote, moderate, why did he publicly characterize one of the two major parties as a party of division and hate?" Another comment from a Twitter employee, of course in reference to Elon Musk describing the current Democrat Party as the party of division and hate. Well, probably because it's true. Secondly, that's not an extremist point of view, it's an opinion. And probably because you Twitter Democrats don't stop attacking the man and antagonizing the man for his mere support of freedom of speech. Then there's more individuals commenting on Elon Musk's support of Mr. Ron DeSantis. This user writes, "A good moderate candidate who believes in QAnon." What? These people are completely out of their minds. Apparently, Ron DeSantis believes in Q. This next person writes, "Ron DeSantis, leader of the Don't Say Gay bill, is the worst possible person to lead this country, and he is someone you openly endorsed," pushing literal fake news with the supposed Don't Say Gay bill. Another person, "Rob DeSantis endorsement seems totally moderate." Can't even get the guy's name right. Called him Rob DeSantis. Clearly, this person should be your go-to for political knowledge on who's moderate and who isn't. His definition of moderate is different from all of us. Another person writes, which essentially makes this meme from Elon Musk that went viral not too long ago come to reality. Here's another Twitter meltdown. "A hearty middle finger to the board for selling the company to someone who cannot get through a single coherent sentence about this platform and who thinks a Q candidate is, quote, a moderate candidate." That was a whole lot more than that. You guys can go take a look at the whole video yourselves. Just search leaked internal Slack messages, Twitter employees, and you'll find it. And of course, search that on Twitter. But you can tell that there is a full-blown meltdown happening at Twitter right now. There's a couple people in the chat with some common sense takes, asking some good questions or trying to get people to calm down, but of course, they're an extreme minority in the world of tech these days. For the most part, it's a bunch of unhinged leftists who are just so horrified at the idea of free speech and supporting someone as terrible as Ron DeSantis. In other words, a bunch of clowns. And I guess in conclusion, probably the last thing that I could say here is when Elon Musk finally buys Twitter, which it seems it might actually happen, hopefully these people who clearly can't stand the idea of moderate politics and free speech either decide to get a new job or move to Canada and finally make good on their promises. Hopefully you guys enjoyed an inside look into the Twitter meltdown during the all hands on deck meeting with Elon Musk. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe. I'm going to get back to work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.